fun things that we're going to learn today with Deb. So just one more time, my name is Allie Reith. I work for American Dairy Association. We are so excited to offer these Farm Tour Fridays every second Friday of the month through the rest of this semester. Today, we will be joining Deb Haynes and her family at Superior Dairy up in Northern Indiana. And we will get kicked off here with Deb. If you want to go ahead and give us an introduction to your farm.
Thank you, Allie. I am Debbie Haynes, and I am from one of the seven family members who own and operate Superior Dairy here in Garrett, Indiana. I would like to welcome each and every one of you students and educators into our barn, where we have built a barn that is on pure cow comfort. We're going to learn a lot today. Like, do you know where your milk actually comes from? Most of you will think it comes from a grocery store, and you're right, it does come from the grocery store. But let's take a couple steps back and look at where it really comes from. We're going to start with our cows here. Actually, when a cow has a baby calf, that baby calf is bred when she turns about 12 months old, and then, about 15 months old, and then we have the baby when she turns 2, and that baby will get to grow up and come into our herd. We raise all of our own heifers, and a heifer is just a cow that has not had her first baby yet. So once she has that baby, she's a first-year heifer, and then she transitions into a cow. So let's go over here. We're going to talk about feed, how we feed our cows to get that good milk out of them. We actually have what they call a total mixed ration. You're going to hear me talk about that. And what it is a bunch of ingredients, just like when mom makes cake, we have to make our cows feed for them. They get bean meal, which is a protein, and it's a crushed beans. They get ground corn, and that is energy for them to have their bellies up and going, and gives them energy to get up and move. Just like when you eat right and you want to get out and run, this gives the cows good energy. We have alfalfa baleage, which is what we feed. It's a protein again. And all that is like sometimes you go drive out in the country and you might see a beautiful green field, and a lot of times that'll be your haylage, our alfalfa baleage. We also have corn silage, which is an energy. And all that is the corn, before it gets really ripe, we chop that up and store it into these big bags that look like big white tubes. And it's like a Ziploc. We have to put it in there so that it ferments and gets ripe for the cows to eat it. And then we have vitamins and minerals. Just like you take your vitamin and minerals every day, the cows get those, and that's also a protein. So once we get all these ingredients, there's a certain recipe that our mixer people use, and they mix this all together to make our silage. But what do you ask, what do we put it in? This out here is our mixer. And so they put a certain percent of each one of those items, ingredients, into this big mixer, which is nothing more than like a big KitchenAid mixer that mom uses to make her cake batter with. I'm going to let her go up and show you the inside of it. And that just mixes up that feed really good for the cows so that the cows can digest that and eat that as much as they want. Do you know how much a cow will eat in a day's time?
If we want to have people put their guesses in the comments, ask your classrooms, how many pounds of food do you think a cow eats in a day? And Deb, if you want to tell us about how much your cows weigh, that might help people with their guess.
Okay, my cows on the average will weigh anywhere from 15 to 1,600 pounds. That's 1,500 or 1,600 pounds on the average. So what do you think they might eat? And this right down here is the finished product of our total mixed ration.
All right, guys, get your guesses in for how much you think a cow eats in one day. We have 60 pounds as a guess. Wanata's third grade is guessing 25 pounds. We have 30 pounds, 85 pounds, 1,000 pounds, 50 pounds.
You got some good guesses there, Allie.
We sure do.
The cow will eat on the average about 105 pounds of feed a day. So we feed here at Superior Dairy, we feed about 24,000 pounds of feed. With that being said, they get 8,000 pounds in the morning, and at night they get the rest of that feed. So that would be about 16,000 pounds of feed at night. You want to know why we feed at night more feed than we do in the morning? And that's only because at night it's cooler and the cows will come up more. Cows like to just lay and relax, and they like the same routine, just like we like our routines all the time. We don't like change. Cows don't like change either. So over here, I have a Juno, and all Juno is, he kind of reminds me of R2-D2 from Star Wars. He is just a little robot, and he will make his way down to the end of the barn, across and back every hour. So he's not running right now, but eventually he will start to run, and then we'll swing out to him. So if you just see us swing out to Juno, that's what we're talking about, because he runs about every hour, so he won't run till probably about 11 again. But he pushes that feed right up to the cows, so the cows are always with feed and never without feed. Okay, so I spoke earlier on the cow comfort. Our cows live and are pampered every day here at Superior Dairy. They have side curtains that keeps the hot sun off of them. We have water misters up here so that every hour or every 10 minutes when the temperature reaches 70 degrees, the misters will come on and they put water on their backs so that that keeps them cool. Today, the fans aren't running on this cool morning, but we have 36 big fans in the barn, and those also blow on the cows and keep the cows very cool. Cows like it between 45 and 65 degrees. So we try to keep them as cool and as comfortable as possible.
So I know this week a lot of people were playing in the sprinklers when it was really hot. Did the cows like to play in the sprinklers too?
They love it, Allie. They love to come up when those sprinklers kick on and just get wet and shake around. And one of the most irritating things is when their tail gets wet and it sloshes you with it.
Fun water fights in the barn. Very cool.
Yes. So, with that being said about the curtains, the fans, and the sprinklers, we also have a vet that comes every 2 weeks, and he goes through. The cows will come up and they'll put their head through what we call a headlock. It'll lock, and then the cow can't move. So that way it gives the veterinarian a safe spot to check all the cows. The cows are checked to make sure that everybody is healthy and in good shape, because we want to keep our cows very healthy. If we don't keep them healthy, then they're not going to take care of us. So we want to make sure that our cows are kept very healthy, cool, calm, and comfortable all the time. We're going to walk down this way a little bit. And we also, in our barn, we have 3 social areas, 3 on each side of the barn. Our barn is split into 2, a north side and a south side, but we have 3 social areas. And in our social areas, you can see up here, we have a brush that they get their back scratched with. They have water available anytime during the day or night that they want. So they have free choice on that. Can you tell me, have any guesses, Allie, on how many gallons of water a cow might drink in a day? If it eats 105 pounds of feed, what do you think it might drink in a day? You see, my cows are getting kind of nosy. They want to know what's coming up here.
They're ready for their close-up. But all right, everyone,
Yes.
get those guesses in. So we found out that cows eat 100 to 105 pounds of food every day. How many gallons of water do we think they drink? We got lots of guesses. 229 gallons, 30 gallons, 100 gallons, 300 gallons of water. Lots of great guesses here, everybody.
Absolutely. A cow on the average will drink about 30 to 50 gallons of water. So take that into perspective. Let's think about your bathtub when you take a bath at night and you fill that bathtub up with water. That is how much water a cow will drink at night to help keep its body going. Do you know how many stomachs a cow has?
Ooh, that's a great question. This is kind of a
That
trick question, but if
it
people want to
is.
guess how many stomachs a cow has, I see a lot of number fours. Great guesses, everybody.
Good guesses. You know what? This is why we call this a trick question. Cows only have one stomach, but it has 4 compartments.
There you go. 4
Okay,
compartments.
so
So we did have Brittany Nuring said 1 stomach. So we got that right. Nice job, Brittany. And we did have another question about how many cows are in the barn.
right now we are at 227 cows being milked in the barn. Our barn will hold 242, but we have cows that are dried off, which just means that they're getting ready to have their babies. I call that their vacation time. Cows are milked for 305 days and then are they go on their vacation for 60 days and then that's when they have their babies and they come back into the barn. So when they go on vacation, they leave the barn totally and they get to graze outside. They get to eat food, the silage the way they want to. It's just that's giving them a break from milking so that they're ready to come back and perform again. And that's called another lactation. So you would have your first lactation would be your heifer that we talked about earlier. And then when she has her second baby, then that's her second lactation. So every time she has a baby, that's another lactation.
Great. And
Right
Deb,
now,
you had talked about that the vet comes in and checks the cows. What is the vet checking the cows for?
the vet checks the cows after they have a baby, just like moms when they go back to the doctors after they have a baby, just to be checked out and make sure everything's healthy and working and performing the way it's supposed to perform. If they need any vitamin shots, the vet will give them vitamin shots. Just if we have some issues with maybe a cow's not milking correctly, she's not feeling the best, we'll have him come and look at her and see why, and so that we can correct that problem.
Great.
So sometimes they get upset stomachs, just like you and I get an upset stomach, and they might go off of milk. So the vet will come and tell us what we need to give them to make them feel better.
Awesome. And we also had another good question. We see lots of black and white cows back there. Do you have different breeds of cows?
Actually, in our barn, we have a lot of Holsteins. That's the black and white ones that you're seeing right now. I have one red Holstein. So she's kind of reddish brown and white. And I only have one brown Swiss. So we're mainly just the Holstein. And we also are what they call a closed herd, meaning we just raise all of our own replacement cows, replacement heifers. We raise everything here on the farm. We do not buy anything outside of the farm.
We have another great question from Mrs. Antos. They're wanting to know, how do the cows sleep?
A great question. If we're going to come over here and we're going to look at this real quick, because our cows, and it's different on every farm. So that's the one really good thing about the dairy business, is you can do it differently on every farm and get the same product. So our cows like to lay down in their free stalls that you see here, and our cows also have sand. So they get fresh bedding every 2 weeks. The stalls get groomed every week to make sure that they're clean of debris and stuff. So yeah, they just lay down and love to sleep and relax, and they'll chew on their cud, which when they're chewing on their cud, that means that their body factory is working. If you look at this cow right here, see how her mouth is moving, chewing motion? That is what they call chewing on their cud.
They look very happy and relaxed. We have a question from Miss Chard's class. Why do they have numbers on their ears?
Okay, the numbers on their ears actually are for us when they're born, and that's a heifer, girl cow. We put a number in their ear just for ourselves, and then when they come to the barn, they get a different number on the side in that collar. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but it's just an identification number for us so that we can look back and say, oh, because she's not in the barn yet, we can tell who she comes from, who her mom is, who her dad is, which a dad is called a sire.
Cool. And another question from Miss Lehman's class along those same lines. Do you guys name your cows?
We do not name our cows.
And then another great question. Where do they have their babies in the barn?
Okay, their babies are not born here at Superior Dairy. They are actually born at a different location. And the only reason we do that is so that we can watch carefully, because sometimes a mama might have troubles having a baby. So when we put them in the nursery pen to have their babies, we can monitor them so that there's no complications in having a baby. So they're actually born just a little bit down the road, and then we bring the baby right down. Real quick right here, I want to show you this. These are our alley scrapers. And this is one more reason it's a smart barn. The alley scrapers go down the alleys every hour. It takes about a half hour for each side to go all the way down. But what happens is you eat, so guess what? We all poop. And so this cleans all of that out of the way, so that keeps our cow's feet clean, because if we got to have good feet to have a good cow. Okay, so that just scrapes everything down to the one end of the barn, and it just puts it into like a big toilet bowl, and it just flushes it right out of the barn and keeps our barn good and clean and smelling good, just to get rid of all that.
So they have their own maid service. That sounds nice.
Yes, it is.
All right, we got lots and lots of questions coming through. How old is your oldest cow?
My oldest cow is 11 years old.
Wow.
And she has been milking for 9 years. So she has been a great girl to have around.
Very cool.
She has been milking about 163 pounds of milk a day. That is about 18 gallons of milk a day that this cow is giving us. Real quick, I'm going to swing over here, because today here at Superior Dairy, we talked about cow health. We have our hoof trimmer here, and the hoof trimmer comes in about every 6 to 8 weeks, and he gives the cows pedicures and manicures to make sure those feet are healthy. So you see that we got 2 guys here working on that today. Let me see if I can get Michael a minute, and he'll give us a quick answer. Michael, can you step over here just real quick, please? Can you tell me why it's important to have our cows' hooves trimmed?
The main function is to return the hoof to its original length. And then the second is to balance the claws so that they walk comfortably.
So it's very important to keep their feet good and healthy. Like I said earlier, if we don't take care of our cows, they don't take care of us. Thank you, Michael.
That was great. We appreciate that. So cows don't get to wear shoes like we do. So their feet are need to keep clean and keep them happy and healthy. So great, awesome opportunity to see that pedicure today, having their little spa moment. We have lots of other great questions. To go back to the sand bedding, why did you guys choose to use sand bedding?
We chose sand bedding because number one, for us, we have a sand quarry that's just a mile away. And this is sand that's so fine and so soft to lay in. It's kind of like beach sand. It doesn't pack very well. So we have a real good resource just right around the corner from our farm that we can go and get it to and bring it to our farm.
Very nice. And does that help keep the cows cool? Is it easier to keep clean?
It does help keep the cows cooler. And yes, I would prefer sand over straw bedding because it's easier to clean out. And sometimes the cow doesn't lay far enough back and it might get some of its restroom in the sand bedding, but it also will filter out a lot easier.
Very nice. And we had another good question as we're up close and personal with these cows. What are the things on the cows' necks?
Okay, those are the cows' collars, and those are what we're going to use at the robot. The cows all have their own collar, and I'll show you one inside up real close, but they all have a responder on them, and that responder gives us so much information. It tells us how they're eating, how they're like walking, how many steps they're taking, their activity they're doing. It just helps us manage that animal better. So, and it also reads, the computer will read it when they go into the robot, so that that will tell you whether or not they get to be milked or if they have to wait and come back later. Because sometimes these girls, when they get their pellets, they want to eat those pellets all the time. So they might come in 3 or 4 times through the robot, and the robot says, not now, you have to come back. So that's why they get that little collar on there. The robots read a lot of it.
This Vahanka's class wants to know, how do the cows get so clean?
That's a great question. By keeping the alleys clean, that helps their feet stay clean. By keeping their beds clean and dry, that keeps the cows clean. The brush that we have up here also will brush the debris off. It's worked on mercury. And so when a cow walks under it and tips it, it brushes all their back and gets all the loose hair off their back. And it's very soft on them. It's not anything that's real hard. So they love to get their back scratched or their ears scratched here with the brushes. Just another way to keep them clean.
Very nice.
Okay, let's step into the robot rooms. And it's also very important to me that I keep my robot rooms clean. And so when I get ready to go in, I always make sure my boots are washed off and ready to go.
Very nice. We appreciate keeping everything clean. We know it's very important for our food safety to keep our cows and our farms very clean. We got lots of questions about milking. So do the cows all make the same kind of milk?
They make the same kind of milk, but it might produce a higher protein or a higher butter fat. I need to shut this gate. So yes, they all produce vanilla milk, like I said. And so what we got going on here is we have a cow that is just about finished milking. So you can see that the robot arm is underneath her. The teat cups are milking away. And as each quarter gets done, a cow has 4 quarters in her udder, they will start dropping. So you and I may milk a cow, but we will never be the same because we're 2 different people. But with the robot, the cow can go into any robot it would like, and it gets the same protocol. It's milked the same way every time. So this is one thing that's been really good for us, is that when 1 quarter is done milking, the robot slides right off of there and it'll continue to milk the next one till it's done milking.
So we had a really great question. How do you train the cows to do what you want them to do? Do they know any tricks?
Well, we feed the pellet that you saw out there. So really what they're doing is they're coming in to get that pellet. And by the amount of milk that the cow produces, that's how many pounds of pellets they get every day. So that's adjustable. And so they're wanting those pellets because remember, those pellets are high in energy. And it's got like grape juice in it, so it makes it real sweet, and that makes it want to come back and get it. It's just like getting a piece of candy. When we first started, though, we spent 2 weeks, 24 hours a day. We had 2 different shifts working 12 hours, and we actually had to physically get the cows up, bring them to the robot, and let them and train them that way. And it usually takes about 3 weeks for a heifer, and then we don't have to go get her anymore. Then she'll gets it figured out where she can come in on her own. We'll let this cow finish up, and then we'll start with the beginning of the next cow that's in line getting ready to come in.
So we do have a question. Does milking hurt the cows?
No, it does not.
It actually makes them feel better, right?
It does. It relieves a lot of pressure. This one's going to, remember I told you earlier that sometimes they want to come in just for the pellet? That's what happened there. I call her my drive-bys.
Always looking for a snack.
Always.
I don't blame them. Another quick question. When the babies are born, are they the same color as their mothers?
Not always. It depends on what their fathers look like. Some are more black than others. Some are white. Some have a kind of a gray mixture on them.
Great. And another question is, how do the cows know when to get milked?
They know because they start to feel pressure in that udder. And think about a water balloon. When you fill a water balloon with water and how it expands and it gets bigger. So if you take a pinhole and you let that water out, then it's going to feel better to the balloon. So that's the same thing, kind of the same concept we're doing with the cows. Their udders might get real big and feel hurt, not hurt, just tight. So this, by milking them, relieves that pressure. Well, we're waiting on a cow to come in. Here's the collars that we talked about earlier. So this is the responder here, and it's wore right on the side of their neck where they chew their cud, and they can see the motion of that reads that motion of the jaw chewing the cud, and then it also tells me how many steps they take a day. But every cow is equipped with one of these, and this is a weight, and it's pretty heavy. And what that does is that just sits there to keep the responder right where it needs to be on the cow's neck. So it's just basically their little own personal necklace.
Very cool. Another great question is, how long would it take to milk a cow by hand?
Oh dear. Okay, that's a great question. Let's keep that one because I got a cow that just walked in. So we're going to walk through this real quick, and then we'll come back to that question. So what you're seeing here now is the brushes. They go in underneath the cow's udder, and it's washing, taking all the sand particles or any dirt that they have on their udders off. And it'll do that for all 4 quarters. It's going to come out and disinfect, and a disinfectant is just, it's going to spray that cleaner on there, so when it goes back in, now it's going to disinfect every cleaner so that or every quarter, so that we don't get dirt in our milk, because we want to keep the cleanest, purest milk we can keep. So it's going to do that to all. And that little puff of air that you hear, that is exactly what it is. Air drying that quarter off, getting ready to put the milk inflations on. It takes about 7 minutes in the box, and I call the robot here, this is what I call the box. So from the time the cow walks in to the cow leaves, it takes about 7 minutes for it to be milked. You see the first one's on, now the second one, third one.
And what is that red light doing?
That red light is scanning the udder to see where that teat placement is, and that happens every time she comes in. There's also a light up above that you can't see that is also reading to the robot arm to tell where the cow is standing. So the first couple cc's of milk.
Oh, we got a little bit of delay there on the video, so we'll just ask Deb to repeat that question. What were you saying about the first couple of
that comes out? Can't hear me?
Now we're
okay.
Good to go, Deb. Go for it.
Okay, I'm sorry. The first couple cc's of milk is tested to make sure it meets the criteria. If it's not, if it has anything in it that's bad, it will just dump it right down the drain. It won't even put it in with our bulk tank. So what you're seeing there is the milk going into a weigh jar. Every cow's milk is weighed. So that keeps track of how many pounds of milk she's milking a day. The cows have to milk at least 15 pounds of milk and be away from the robot at least 4 hours, or the robot will not milk them. So up here, this will tell me this is cow number 233. She's at 13 pounds of milk right now, and this is each one of her quarters that are being milked. And it tells me how long it's been on there. So this one's been on 1 minute and 21 seconds, 1 minute and 30 seconds. She's up to 16.5 pounds of milk. 17. So this is what the computer is reading, and this will all go to my main computer also. So, but every time it does this for every cow that comes in. So if it takes me about 5 minutes in the robot room, or the robot to milk, I would say probably about 15 minutes is what, if I had to milk her out by hand, and I wouldn't want to milk 227 cows out by hand.
That would be a lot of work. So how long have you had the robots on the farm?
We put the robots in February of 2017. So we're just a little over 3 years into it now. It has given us a lot of more flexibility as far as, you know, we can have Christmas morning and then come do chores instead of waiting till after chores are done to have our Christmases now. Now you'll see over here that every cow that comes through, the robot will automatically wash, and you'll hear that little steam there, and clean before the next cow comes in. So it's sanitized between every cow.
So that was another great question. Do you guys have to, Raylan from Rikers Ridge wanted to know if you have to clean the milk.
No, well, yes, we do. I should say that. All the milk, it goes through the whey jar that you saw in here, but before it gets pumped out, there's a filter in here, in this tube here, and it looks like this. And so this filter will catch any of the sand or very little particles that the robot didn't get knocked off of them before, so that way that doesn't get put into our milk in the bulk tank. So these are changed twice a day. And also the robots will shut down twice a day to do what we call a complete line flush or clean. And with that, I have a short little video to show you where the milk goes to after it goes through the bulk tank or through the whey jar, through the filter, and then it heads to the bulk tank. So we'll show you this little video. Okay, so this is our bulk tank room, and the top line that you see there is the milk that would come in from the robots right here into the bulk tank. Now it's going through that plate cooler, and that is cooling it from 101 degrees down to 43 degrees. So it'll come out, go in the top, it comes out the bottom. It'll go across to the big bulk tank. The far one is the big bulk tank that holds 55,000 pounds of milk or 6,400 gallons of milk. And when that bulk tank is washing, the other bulk tank that you just saw, that one is the one that all the milk will be pumped into until the big bulk tank is done washing. That is the thermometer on our control box that keeps the control of the milk temperature where it needs to be.
So that all looks pretty clean and shiny in there. You guys do a great job of keeping everything clean. What has to happen before you can actually drink the milk?
Well, before you can drink the milk, it goes to the milk processing plant where it's pasteurized and homogenized. And that's a whole nother process before it gets to go to the refrigerator or to the grocery store to your refrigerator. The milk is actually from the cow to the processing plant to the refrigerator at the grocery store is about a 48-hour turnaround. So you're getting a very fresh product every time you drink that glass of milk.
Very cool. And we also had another great question. How long has your farm been running?
Our farm, this one here is just like I said, 3 years ago, but we have been in the dairy business since you can go back to the 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s, when my husband's great-great-grandfather started in a little town called Garrett, Indiana. So we've been doing it for quite some time. We're just now bringing in the next generation of family members to continue the dairy and to continue that heritage on.
Very cool. Well, we're going to get wrapped up here in a couple minutes. We had so many great questions today from you guys. We thank you for your excitement and all the great questions. Deb, if there is anything that you want everybody to know about your farm or about dairy foods, what would that be?
Well, number one, I would like to think that we here at Superior Dairy have the cow is the first and foremost of our minds, and the cow comfort is how we need to continue to keeping those cows as comfortable as possible, to keep pampering them. As I would love to see more milk being sold and more milk being drank, and it's coming back. It's where people are wanting more nutrition in their diets, especially during the pandemic when everybody's been home cooking. We're starting to get more and more people using the dairy products that we produce. One of my favorite dairy products is ice cream and cheese and yogurts. So lots of good things out there to eat and drink. So
Very cool. And I know Deb's got a very favorite phrase. She's going to say it here before we get signed off. What do we want everybody to know about milk?
We always want everybody to know winners drink milk.
That is absolutely right. Well, thank you so much, Deb, for showing us around your farm. We loved learning with you guys today. If you are a teacher with us on our Zoom program, please make sure to stick around. There will be a question and answer, a quick survey that we would love to hear back from you guys. If you joined us on YouTube today, thank you so much for all your questions. Make sure to share this video with your friends and keep an eye out for our next Farm Tour Friday, which will be October the 9th. We're excited to have everybody and see everybody again at a new farm. And thanks again to Deb and her family for taking such great care of their cows. We'll see everybody in October.